All right, so you've made the decision to get started in movement training. Maybe in the past you've done weights and things like that and you want to try something different. Maybe you're just getting back into fitness altogether and you want something a little more fun. Well, in this video, that's what we're gonna go over. Because if you're like my brother and I, then if you're gonna put in the hours and put all the work to get in shape, why not build an athletic physique that's also gonna give you that functional strength, flexibility, and where you get to learn some impressive bodyweight moves. So you've probably seen that movement training has been getting extremely popular recently. Thanks to guys like Ido Portal training Conor McGregor, hit shows like Ninja Warrior. A lot of high-level athletes and regular people are starting to see the big benefits of movement training. So inside this video, you're gonna learn the 3 most important things to focus on as you get started in movement training. This is gonna help you reduce the risk of injury. This is gonna help you reach your full potential in movement training, no matter what age you are or fitness level you're at right now. For example, guys like Steph Brazeau here was able to cut down weight and get his handstand. You have Hilliard here, who was able to get his first parkour vault in his 70s, and they followed these things that I'm gonna share with you. Now, before we get started, if at any point during this video, you know that you want workouts, you want to schedule a proven plan for getting started in movement training, then check out our Rapid Primal Fitness program. It's in the description. You can pick it up at any point during this video. The first thing that you're gonna wanna focus on as a beginner is core strength. The core strength is going to be the foundation for every move that you do. Every movement starts or goes through the core. If you're throwing a ball, if you're climbing a wall, even something as simple as sweeping the floor, it's all gonna have to do with your core. The core is what keeps you stable. It's what protects you. It's what makes your movements either more efficient or less efficient. So if you have a weak core, you're gonna be very unstable. You're going to get injured. So you're gonna experience a lot more back pain, things like this. And you're gonna be weaker, not only just with your movements, but with anything that has to do with your limbs. So like if you're lifting something with your arms or you're doing a movement with just your legs, it all runs through the core, so all these movements are gonna be affected by it. So now I'm gonna give you 4 exercises to work on building a stable core. These are gonna help with stabilizing because that's what your core is designed for. For example, we wanna have the flexibility to move the spine, but when we're doing movements, we wanna have the strength to hold it in place. So here's the first exercise. And we've done a lot of these before, but we're simply just going to perform just a regular plank. So in this position here, the big thing here is we want to stack our elbows underneath our shoulders. We want to make sure our arms are about shoulder width apart. When we lift up into this position, we don't want the hips to drop down like this, and we don't want to go too high up. You want to keep a nice straight back here, tighten the glutes, and hold this position. Now, once you can do that for 30 seconds, that's a pretty good beginner level, and you know you're pretty good with going into other movements. The next exercise is the side plank. So again, same principles, stacking the elbow under the shoulder, making sure to keep our back straight. So we're gonna lift up our hips, squeeze the glutes here, make sure we don't dip down here or lift up too high. And if this is too hard at first, you can start from your knees. So right like this, right? Takes away the resistance. And then we're gonna do the opposite side too. So you always wanna have a good balance. So once you do one side, you're gonna do the other. Same thing again, lift up. And again, 30 seconds for that is a pretty good place to be, to where you know you got it down pretty well. Then the fourth one is a little bit different. This one is a hollow position. You've probably seen this in our channel before. Again, we're focusing on the whole core here. So now we're gonna switch in an opposite position. From this position, what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on rotating the hips. So let me lift this so you can see this. See how there's a gap here right now? We don't want this when we're doing this position. This risks injuring our lower back. So what we wanna do is press our lower back into the ground by rotating the hips. We're gonna lift the knees so we can pull the feet off the ground, and then we're gonna slowly lift the shoulders. Not too high, you don't wanna crunch like this, just a slight elevation. You wanna think about just pulling with your abs and pulling your chest up towards the ceiling just slightly. And then we hold this position. That's the beginner hold. Then if you want to do more advanced, you just extend further and further until you can hold it out straight like this. But you can stick with the beginner variation. If you can hold that for a good 30 seconds, that's pretty good. So the second thing you're gonna focus on is balance. Because think about it, every movement that you do, you're just essentially balancing your body and maintaining control over your body. And this ties in with the core strength we just talked about. And the more advanced the movement is, the faster the movement is, the more crucial it is to have better balance over your body so you don't injure yourself and so you can be more efficient with your movements. So I'm gonna give you 3 exercises to work on to train this balance. Now, the first one is a QM, but we're not gonna walk. All I want you to do is focus on maintaining your balance. So we're getting in this position, and then all we're doing is lifting up the opposites. And the goal here is to hold this balance and maintain this position. If you want, you can straighten it out a little bit. You can kind of shift the weight a little bit to get a feel for it, and then switching the legs and arms. So that's the first one. And these are a little advanced, so you might have to start on your hands and knees at first. The second one is just we're reversing. We're now getting to the crab position, and we're doing the exact same thing. So it's gonna look like this. Hands are close to our hips. We're doing the exact same thing. Lift the opposites. Feel that balance if you can. You can extend a little bit, move around, but try to keep this stable right here. And then switching like so. Okay? Now for the third one, we're gonna stand up and we're gonna work on shifting our balance with one leg. We're gonna shift to one side. I'm gonna start with my left. You're gonna lift the leg up in front of you. Then you're gonna wrap it around your body. Try to stay straight until you get all the way to the back, and I'm gonna turn so you can see this. So until you get all the way to where your leg is behind you. And then when we reach here, I want you to hinge forward and maintain this balance. If you want, extend the arms like so, and then come back up. And then again, we'll do the same thing, but with the other leg. All right, the third and final thing that you wanna focus on as a beginner is mobility, because if you don't have the mobility to hit the right shapes, it's going to affect every other part of your movement. It's going to lead to more injuries. So let me just give you a quick example of how that can occur. In something as simple as ankle mobility, with the squat, for example, if you're going down to the squat, but you don't have the extra ankle mobility to lean the knees forward, then as you lower down, say you're stuck here, as you lower down, your weight's now shifted too far back. So now, as you start to squat, you're gonna have to lean over a lot more. And in order to get low enough to hit certain positions, meaning to hit down here, you're gonna have to round your back and curve it over. You're now disrupting your core. You're now curving your spine, and it's now putting you into a position where your lower back can easily get injured. And so just because of this ankle mobility, where if you were able to lean more forward, you could get down and still have a proper position in the back. The first mobility exercise we're gonna work on is the squat, or the full mobility squat. So for this, we're not trying to have a lot of speed or use a lot of strength. We're just really focusing on technique and seeing how far we can go. So you're gonna spread your legs a little bit wider in shoulder width. That's how I like to do it. If you want, you can have a slight turnout. The big things you wanna focus on are, one, you wanna keep your heels planted the whole time. We don't wanna lift up on the toes to overcompensate for bad mobility. Keep the heels planted. Our back, we wanna keep our back straight the whole time, so we don't wanna, hunch over, or like I talked about before, we don't wanna have the lower back, dip in like this. We wanna keep it nice and straight, neutral spine here the whole time. And so all we're gonna do is we're gonna initiate with the hips, and then we're just gonna go down as far as we can, nice and slow and controlled, maintaining those position points and seeing how far we can go down comfortably. If you can only go like this far, then that's fine. Because if your lower back, say your lower back starts to curve under, that means you're going too far. We wanna keep a good position. So go down as far as you can comfortably, maintain that position, and then come back up. And now as you do the squat, the goal is to go all the way down until you hit just about 90 degrees. If you can go further, that's cool too. And then come back up. The second one is going to be a combination of two things. So we're gonna work on the shoulders and also the hamstrings and the ankles. and that is a downward dog. So we're gonna get our hands and knees. We're going to lift up onto our feet, and we're going to push our hips back while we push our shoulders down. Keep our back straight and go back as far as we can comfortably here. And then come out, and then try to go a little bit further. Really working on pushing the hips back, building this ankle mobility, and then pushing the chest down so we get a lot of good shoulder movement here. Now, for this downward dog, the goal is going to be to push the hips back to where you want to try to hit as close as you can to that 90-degree angle, and then you want to try to get where your shoulders and back are pretty much aligned and straight. Now, that's pretty hard to do, but that's the goal. Pushing in that position and then coming back. The next exercise for mobility is going to be a bridge progression. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get on the floor like so, plant our feet down, have our legs about shoulder width apart, and we're gonna lay down on our back. And the goal for this is we're gonna place our hands next to our hips like so. And the goal here is to squeeze the glutes and press the hips up. We're going to stretch out these hip flexors and push as far as we can up in that position, and then come back down. And so the goal is you want to reach to where this is completely straight right here. That's a good position. And then if you want to go more advanced, then we can start to go into the bridge. Now, as you'll see when I start to do this, this is actually one of my weakest points in mobility, and a lot of it has to do with the shoulders, but my back bridge is really bad. But this is a good one to work on. So we go into this position, we take our hands and place them behind us, putting the palms in the ground like so, and then we lift up from here and push up as high as we can, and then come back down. So as you can see, I still have a lot of work to do with that position. All right, so those are the 3 things that we recommend you focus on as a beginner getting started in movement training. Now, if you know that you want workouts, you need a schedule, things like that, and you're interested in this type of training, then what I want you to do is check out what we have for you down below. This is our Primal Movement 101 program that takes you through everything we just talked about and more. So workout, schedule, and you learn some really cool moves at the same time. So thanks again for watching this video. Make sure to like. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.